Take us with you wherever you may roam with the free andrewhogue.com iPhone and Android app. So download today. You're listening to andrewhogue.com, of course, Australia's premier 24/7 rock metal radio station, and I've had the privilege of chatting and meeting this great man on many occasions over my radio career, and boy, an absolute amazing person. He is none other than Bruce Dickinson. He is in Australia shortly to talk about all things Bruce and his incredible life thus far, and also the book, What Does This Button Do? We'll read out those tour dates very shortly. So let's just make him welcome to the airways of andrewhogue.com. We do have Bruce Dickinson. Hello, Bruce.
Hello there.
It's great to have you back in Australia, and of course, a different approach to running around on the stages. Of course, there probably will be some running around when you're talking stories about your life, but it'll probably be a little bit less louder, so to speak, as you are here to promote the latest book. What Does This Button Do? And I know it's been well received in many other countries across the world since its release, and of course, doing a lot of spoken word events, and also a lot of business stuff too, which we'll get into as well. So what has the response been from people sort of talking to you talking about your life?
Well, the reason I'm down here is because the response has been so good that we decided to, I say we, that's, myself and, Rod, my manager, and everything. We decided that we would take it on the road and see what happens, because originally what started out as a small promotional tour for this for the autobiography, What Does This Button Do? It started out, and the publishing company, HarperCollins, they did. They hired three venues in the UK. And we signed some books for everybody that turned up, and then the idea was that I'd do some book readings, and I thought, well, that's kind of boring. So I thought back to a one-man show that I went to when I was an undergraduate. My girlfriend quite literally dragged me along because I didn't want to go, and it was a guy called Quentin Crisp, who was a gay civil servant in the time when it was illegal to be gay and all the rest of it. So he was quite a flamboyant guy. They made a movie. John Hurt played him in a movie called The Naked Civil Servant. But regardless of that, he was very witty and very funny. And then he did this thing where he went off stage for about 15 minutes, and he took questions from the audience on cue cards and came back, and he'd obviously reorganized them, rearranged them, selected some questions in different orders. But it basically was like it was almost like a stand-up routine, the second half. And it was almost entirely improvised, and it was very entertaining. And I just remembered that, and I thought, well, maybe I could try something similar. So they looked at me a bit funny when I said, look, I want a load of cue cards, and this is what we'll do. And everybody, managers were looking a bit nervous because, of course, it's out of their control. Yep. They've got no control whatsoever, which is what I loved. Because I went, people talk about things being, oh yeah, it's very edgy, by which they mean, you put a bone through your nose and have loads of tattoos and it's loud. But edgy is when you stand up on stage and you don't know what you're going to say, and what comes out is okay. So that's what I did, and it worked so well after the first night that there was people were scratching their heads, going, "Wow, where did this come from?" I went to Edinburgh and did it, and again the guy came up and he said, "Hey, we want to get you back for the Edinburgh Festival." So I went back recently and I did the Edinburgh Festival with it, and it's developed into basically a one-man show, which is. It's themed around some of the things in the book, but there's so many stories that are not in the book, and so many things that we couldn't cover in the book, that it just becomes a sort of a observational slice of life look at what it was like growing up being a kid in the 70s, effectively, and the crazy world that I then ended up being involved in.
I remember we had an interview quite a number of years ago, and because you kind of just, I guess, laughed at me, but I did remember I said, so I hear that you're writing an autobiography, and you're like, what? Who said that? Why would I do that? It was like, oh, okay, sorry, maybe I misread it somewhere else, but of course, you went ahead and did it. I guess it was all in the timing, right?
People have been asking me to do it for years.
Yeah.
And I consistently turned it down. And because I knew what was involved. I mean, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be sitting there just like writing, you know. And then, of course, I had the issue with throat cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the throat cancer thing and getting over it, obviously, I thought, you know what, now would be a good time.
Yeah.
you never know what might happen. You know, I suppose I should do something like this, and that really was the kind of nature's cattle prod.
Talking about surviving cancer, I mean, we know that your approach to life is just, not even just take it by the horns, but just, put it on high speed as well. How much of that experience has accelerated, I guess, your learning curve to do more things? I mean, has it just kind of gone into overdrive, or, people sort of think, shit, I am running out of time. Now is all there is. You don't know what's going to happen around the corner. Has that given you, I guess, a bit more of an extra lightning bolt?
I mean, perhaps subconsciously. It's not a conscious thing. But I, even before I got diagnosed, I had several projects on the go, and then when I got diagnosed with cancer, I was like, oh no,
not
really?
Now.
You're kidding me, And there was half of me that was like, well, I suppose you might die, but the chances are that you won't. But what a pain in the arse this cancer is, It's gonna, all these things need doing.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to. There was a lot of closure on a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish. And I thought, well, I can't do it because one, I'm sick, but even so, you still can't do it in 9 months. Some of these things were long-term projects. So I just had to settle down and go, I'm not going to give up on these things. I'm just going to have to put myself in the deep freeze a little bit for a few months whilst I nail this thing. I was assuming kind of that I probably would, but on the other hand, there's also the possibility that you might not. And also, the treatment is pretty aggressive, so hopefully you come out the other side of the treatment in reasonable shape. You don't know. I mean, I know some guys who've had exactly the same cancer as me, who've had pretty much exactly the same treatment as me, and their bodies have responded. They got rid of the cancer, but their bodies responded very differently to mine, and there was some really quite unpleasant side effects, which I've been really lucky that I managed to sidestep the worst of them. I mean, in terms of long-term worst of them.
So everything is pretty much in the clear now? You haven't had any, repercussions, or, I mean, obviously, I presume you get regular checkups?
Yeah, no, I get, when we get round to this coming May, it'll be 4 years.
Wow.
Since I was given the all clear. So now I just go back I go back to my doc every 6 months and get a checkup. I have to keep having my and the same thing with other bits and bobs, So I have to have my jaw looked at for various reasons to do with radiation, because when you do that amount of radiation, the lower jaw, the mandible, the bone basically doesn't like it. And it doesn't like it kind of permanently, effectively. All the soft tissues, they regenerate, but the bone, sadly, once irradiated, doesn't respond very well. So you have to really just have to keep an eye on that, so I go to a specialist dentist every 6 months as well, just to make sure that everything's cool.
Okay, well, that's great to hear. And again, it's not the first time you've, I guess, to a degree, been in the firing line. I recently saw the recent release, the Scream for Me Sarajevo documentary, which is truly incredible. I couldn't even put into words just what an absolute experience that would have been. And I guess, pardon the pun, it was certainly a serious road trip. And I mean, even seeing your bassist, Chris Dale, I mean, obviously that experience has completely changed his life when he was reflecting about it. And also, I guess your approach when you sort of, as people say, you came back to the real world and everyone's worrying about the most insignificant first world problem issues. I mean, tell us a bit about how you look back on that since that release of the DVD has come out, the Scream for Me Sarajevo. I mean, I don't think that would ever happen again in anyone's lifetime. I mean, do you sort of pinch yourself going, wow, we actually did that?
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I do look at it and I sort of go, was this some weird dream that we did, But of course it wasn't a dream, and it was very real, and the bullets were absolutely real, and there's so many things that could have gone horribly wrong, which thankfully didn't. But there was no it was just luck that we didn't get shot or blown up. And I suppose that's something which is not. It makes you think differently about things, perhaps in some subtle way, and that the element that luck plays, and the fact that life appears to be sometimes just not fair.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just tough, but life is sometimes not fair, and you just have to deal with that. I mean, when I got cancer, for example, I said to my doc, I said, any idea why I should have this cancer? Because obviously it was everybody is hopefully fairly well aware now. It's a HPV related disease, same as 100% of all cervical cancers are HPV related, and so almost 80% of all men over 40 throat cancer of any description, tongue cancer, throat cancer, tonsil cancer, all of it. It's all HPV related, all caused by HPV, which most of us in the entire world have had an HPV infection.
Wow.
We'll never know it because there are no symptoms.
Yep.
But in men over 40, and so it can cause cancers to develop. So I said to my doc, I said, well, what is it? Why? And he just looked at me. He said, it's just bad luck.
Yeah.
He said, it's as simple as that. He said, he said, I'd love to say that there's some reason. He said, he said people, he said, it's not. He said nobody deserves to get this disease. There's no judgment. There's no wagging finger of fate.
It just happens.
It's just bad luck. And actually, once that happened, I just went, yeah, I kind of feel better about that now. I can deal with it a lot better. Instead of trying to blame something, you just get on with dealing with it. And I suppose that the thing in Sarajevo, I mean, I just finished reading a book about the 617, the Dam Buster Squadron, and what they did and what they went through, and the whole issue of what happens in war. And so much of it, the reason people survive so often is luck. Doesn't matter how skillful you are, doesn't matter how much of a good soldier you are or anything else like that, sometimes you just need a slice of luck, and sometimes you get a slice of bad luck. And then you just have to deal with what's on your plate that you've been given. And Sarajevo was kind of like that. And what was amazing was that the people who were there under siege, who'd been there under siege for years, the longest siege in history, in modern history, longer than the siege of Stalingrad in the Second World War. That was Sarajevo. It's a forgotten siege in a way. It's almost a forgotten war. It's been swept under the carpet by people who try to pretend that the EU has turned Europe into some strange shopping paradise,
Yeah.
and it's not. This stuff is all bubbling under. It's not. I don't think it's been fully resolved. Anyway, regardless of all that, the people who were there, who were living in it, I thought were remarkable because they still retained their humanity and their desire for normal human communication, normal human interaction, even though circumstances were perverse, and even though they had to do undergo terrible deprivations and see appalling atrocities. At the end of it, they got on with fixing their town, and I went back there recently, and they're all still there, and they are still the same people, just no war.
Truly an amazing documentary, and I love the little patch on the back of your jacket on stage, "Balls than most," which was fantastic. And again, the quote when you mentioned to one of the guys, the musicians at the time, you said, "How do you rehearse with no electricity?" And they said, "We rehearse in spirit." And I was just like, man, that was just a tearjerker. That's just incredibly heavy.
It put me in my place.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know we don't have you for too long. Just a question, though. I mean, looking at your achievements, it's astronomical. What is it about achieving that does it for you? Is it just the end result? Is it the journey along the way and the bumps and everything, and then go, wow, look what we just did? I mean, what gives you that thrill?
It's the end result can sometimes be a bit, funnily enough, a bit anticlimactic. Yeah, because I mean it's the thing I love, I suppose, the most is the initial idea for things. So I love the kind of the light bulb moment when you find a great chorus for a song, or when you suddenly come up with a concept for a stage show and you go, yeah, we've got it, fantastic. Then it's a question of making it happen, and that's where I get grumpy, because then it's like it's all about, at that point it's all about the detail. I'm not the world's greatest guy for detail. I like the concepts, I like the excitement, I like the energy, and I sit there moaning and groaning, and so. But without the idea, then without if you got to have a dream. You got to have the dream. Without the dream, nothing will happen.
Absolutely.
But once you've done the dream bit, then everything else has got to happen, and it's hard work. And then because you're then in it and you're immersed in it, it's hard to step back and go, hey, look at that, And in actual fact, for me, it takes a few years before I can finally look back and go, oh, wow, that was really cool.
Because people talk about getting in the gap and sort of being in the moment while you're doing it, but also not being distracted by drifting off going, this is amazing, and then something can go wrong. I mean... No,
you have no... There's no time for that. Well, at least not in my world. There's no time for that.
Yeah.
For sort of like back slapping or slapping yourself on the back and saying, "Hey, aren't we great?" I do it to, well, in other areas. I try and do it to other people in the team, because they're not necessarily part of the creative process, but they're a big part of the detail and big part of making the whole creation work. So they're the people that really need the encouragement, because they put in a huge amount of work. It doesn't matter what the endeavor is, whether it's music or whether it's film or whether it's aviation or whatever it is. There's loads of people that put in a huge amount of work that are really, really dedicated. And if you're the creative behind it or the entrepreneur or whatever, they kind of look up to you, and it's your job, I think, to bring them along and to try and bring them into the vision, and and involve everybody, not just have them at arm's length. You need to build a team. It's all about building a team.
Absolutely. Well, again, we don't have it for too long, so let's check out the tour dates for your up-and-coming What Does This Button Do tour. The first show is in Sydney on Thursday, the 18th of October. It's at the Enmore Theatre. The 19th at the Palais in Melbourne. The 21st on Sunday at Llewellyn Hall in Canberra. Tuesday, the 23rd of October at the Civic Theatre in Newcastle. Wednesday, the 24th at Eaton's Hill Hotel in Brisbane. We can get you to say a couple last words to, of course, the listeners of AndrewHogue.com. And I guess we can get you to choose one of your favourite songs that reminds you of the time in the Sarajevo tour. We've got the soundtrack for the documentary. And also, just for old time's sake, one of your favourite Maiden songs.
Oh, okay. Well, let's do. The song we should do, really, I suppose, is the song that I wrote about Sarajevo.
Yep.
There's a song on the Skunkworks album called Inertia, and it's completely written entirely about Sarajevo, the lyrics and everything, and about the stupidity and of all the death and the pointlessness of the whole thing, so people being prisoners of their history, So that's Inertia. That's that song. And as for a Maiden song, let's do something. Let's do something that we're doing. Let's do something that we're doing right now. Let's do Revelations.
Fantastic. It is a pleasure to talk to with you again, Bruce. So let's check out some of your music and also Iron Maiden right here on AndrewHogue.com. Thanks heaps, buddy.
All right, mate.